Wednesday afternoon on WCSR, it is our distinct privilege and pleasure to talk with a gentleman I remember growing up with on television. It is the drummer of the Monkees, Micky Dolenz, who is coming to Hillsdale College on Saturday night for the big homecoming festivities. And Micky, appreciate you taking some time to join us today.
No problem. Thank you so much for calling.
Have you ever been to Southern Lower Michigan, Micky?
Oh, yeah. I've done many concerts in the area. I don't believe I've ever done one at the college. Of course, over the years, I kind of lose track, to be honest. But
I don't think you've been here either, or we would have remembered.
No, but I've done a lot of shows in the area.
Now, Micky, when you do come Saturday night, tell us a little bit about what we're going to see and what we're going to hear.
Well, I do a pretty, I have a big show. I have 400 people in the band. I have the Blue Angels do a flyover, which sometimes, if it's indoors, can be a bit of a problem.
But I'm sure the Blue Angels are...
of course, the three-ring circus, and, of course, the entire Michigan National Guard, marches through the audience.
That's going to be a heck of a show.
It's a big show. I've scaled it down a bit.
It's going to be a lot of fun, is what it sounds like.
Well, I'll tell you, basically, of course, what I do is sing, for the most part, I sing the great hits of the Monkees, which I was fortunate enough, blessed enough to have sung lead on most of the tunes. And over the years, obviously, it's been a nice little annuity, shall we say. I was also blessed, of course, to have those songs written for me by some of the greatest songwriters of our time, people like Carole King and Jerry Goffin, Harry Nilsson, Boyce and Hart, Neil Diamond, Neil Sedaka, incredible songwriters. And I sort of dedicate my show to the songwriters. And like I say, I do of course, all the big Monkee hits, and I do them in their entirety, and I don't do medleys, and I don't do, reggae version of Clarksville.
Right.
Because I believe the audience is there, obviously, the majority of them are there to hear those songs, and they want to hear them like they remember them. Now, I know when I'm a fan of certain people, of course, and when I go to see concerts, I want the songs, the hit songs, to be done, and, I don't mind if they do other material, of course, but I want to hear those hit songs. So that's the core of the show, of course. Now, when I'm not singing hit songs, and by the way, I have a 5-piece band, and my sister comes and sings with me and does backgrounds, and we've been singing together for many years. Her name's Coco. So when I'm not doing the Monkee tunes, and just generally making a fool out of myself, jumping around like an idiot.
Sure.
I will then go back and tell some stories about some of my adventures over the years. Like, for instance, I'll tell the story of being invited to some of the Beatles sessions by Paul McCartney when I was over in England in the 60s, and going to Abbey Road and hearing them, recording there at Abbey Road. And I'll sing one of the songs that I heard them recording, telling the story. And then I'll tell the story of Jimi Hendrix, being the opening act for the Monkees, and I'll do a Hendrix tune. So if I'm doing any non-Monkee material, then it tends to be stuff that has some story attached about my life and that.
Speaking of the Monkee tunes, just real quick, one question I always told myself, if I ever talk to one of the gang members, I want to ask him this question, and since you're directly involved, you'd know the answer. One of my favorite Monkee songs is "I'm Gonna Buy Me a Dog," that you did with Davy Jones. But it's just you and Davy. Was this recorded near the end of the group's togetherness, or did Mike and Peter just decide they had to be someplace else that day?
Well, if I recall, there weren't any background vocals.
No.
I think that, if I'm not mistaken, I was supposed to record the song, the lead, straight, and Davy would be there, and he would do a background, I think, on it. And I'm not exactly sure. I don't recall exactly how it happened. But as Davey and I were doing mostly the leads on the songs, we would tended to be in the studio together more often. And the way I remember it is that we were in the studio, and they asked me to sing the song straight.
Okay.
They wanted me to sing it as a straight little pop, little tune about my girl. She left me, and I feel, so lonely. I'm going to buy me a dog. Well, I just looked at the producer and I said, I'm 24 years old now, or something, or 23 years. This is, I'm not sure I can sing this, and we started goofing around, Davey and I, in the studio, just kind of making fun of it. And all of that you hear is totally spontaneous, based on us just sitting there goofing around, making fun of this song written by Boyce and Hart. And that is the version they kept.
I think it's a great song, and it still gets airplay on our radio station, so I hope you don't mind.
Absolutely not. It's hilarious. We tried, I think, once a long time ago to try to duplicate it and do it on stage, and it's just impossible. That improvisational sort of thing it doesn't work, live.
Now, you mentioned your sister Coco is in your band. Did she sing on any of the early Monkees tunes?
Yes, she did. She sang backgrounds on a lot of the stuff.
Really?
On almost everything that I produced. When in the later albums, when we started writing and producing our own stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely, she was singing on it. Yeah.
Well, great. Now, one of the things that I found out here in the last couple of days about Micky Dolenz from the Monkees is that you're not just monkey music. You've done quite a bit of musical theater. Grease, Pippin, Aida. I guess I don't picture you doing that, but it's pretty cool that you are doing that.
Well, if you think about it, and if you know the history of the Monkees was sort of like musical theater on television. We were cast into that show as actors, singer, performers. The auditions were very similar to a musical audition theater. An audition in musical theater. They were quite similar. You had to be able to sing, you had to be able to act, you had to be able to dance, you had to be able to improvise. The auditions for the TV show went on for a long, long time, and if you look at it in that sense, those little half-hour television episodes are like little half-hour Marx Brothers movies.
Sure.
Like Day at the Races or Night at the Opera or something like that, little musicals. And I realized that after the fact, but after the Monkees, I was offered immediately some regional theater and then eventually national tours, like you say, of Greece. And so I kind of fell into it, and now it's basically, it's not all I do, but I certainly do an awful lot of it. As you mentioned, I just finished Pippin, and I'm in London. I open in London at the beginning of the year in Hairspray.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Now, what part will you be playing in Hairspray?
Wilbur, the father.
Oh, great. Now, how long does it take for you to get ready for a big musical production like Hairspray?
Well, I start rehearsals in January. I'll probably have about 3 weeks, and that should be okay because it's a great part. Not huge. Doesn't run through the entire piece, but and he has a couple songs, and so I'll have 3 weeks or so, but I'll also be prepared before I get there even.
People are going to start comparing you then to Christopher Walken, who played the part in the movie.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So I'm hoping that Micky does better. Christopher was good.
They actually wanted me to audition for Edna for the mother, and I just couldn't see myself in the fat suit,
Well, that's good to know. Hey, I also understand you're working on a tribute album, correct?
Yes, that's true. Some record company came to me and asked if I had any ideas for a new CD, and I said, well, funnily enough, I do. I've always been a huge fan of Carole King, and and of course her partners that she wrote with, like Jerry Goffin, and they wrote so many hits, big songs for the Monkees, including Pleasant Valley Sunday, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always wanted to do a tribute album to her, call it King for a Day.
Oh, great.
And so they said, yep, and we're in the studio. We're finishing it up now. I have some friends of mine are going to be on it, people like Bill Medley from the Righteous Brothers and Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys and a couple of other surprises. And it'll be out probably around the first of the year.
Well, great. Now, a couple of quick final questions. Everybody's going to want to know, any chance that you and Mike and Davey and Peter get back together and go out on tour?
Well, you never know. I've learned never to say never. Because every time I do say never, something happens.
True.